Good evening. Welcome to the Lyman Planning Board meeting for June 5th, 2024. I'd like to start with a roll call. Start with Bill.
Bill Single, 8 Single Lane.
Kelly Demers, 10 Partridge Way.
Joe Wagner, 26 Day Road.
Cecile Dupuy, 53 Chapel Shores Road.
Kevin Bear, 64 Buckingham Pond Road.
And Don Hernan, 33 Murphy's Way.
Please join me with pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Long may she wave.
Okay. Welcome to the June 5th Planning Board public hearing. This hearing will now come to order. The Lyman Planning Board is holding this public hearing to review the application of, well, the first thing that we'll be doing is the suggestion to make a change to our subdivision performance guarantee. This is a public proceeding. You have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all exhibits that are offered. Please notify the chair if you have had any difficulty seeing or hearing the presentation. This hearing is being recorded and televised on YouTube. All persons speaking will be asked to first state their name and address or affiliation. All questions or comments will be directed to and to the board chair. It is required that you sign the sign-in sheet to document your attendance at this hearing. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Again, the first order of business that we'll conduct in terms of the public hearing is the subdivision performance guarantee. What I would suggest is, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, read what we presently have in the subdivision ordinance and the suggested change.
Sure. Chair. Basically, we have in our subdivision guidelines, we have a requirement for a performance guarantee for the developer of the subdivision to basically, I'll just go ahead and read it. Section 7.2.1 form of performance guarantee, certified check made payable to the town of Lyman. These funds will be deposited into an interest-bearing escrow account in the name of the town for this project. No permits shall be issued or construction or site work begun until funds are deposited into this escrow account. Our suggested change for this section we have as listed. At the town's discretion, the performance guarantee shall be a certified check payable to the town of Lyman and deposited into an interest-bearing escrow account in the name of the town for this project, comma, a performance bond running to the town or an irrevocable letter of credit in form and from an issuer acceptable to the town treasurer. No permit shall be issued or construction or site work begun until the performance guarantee has been fully approved by the town treasurer.
Thank you, Kevin. A little background on this. A developer who was working on a project over on Brock Road brought to our attention that what we presently have is rather limited. Other jurisdictions have more options. Some research was done on this, and I think it was back in 2006, Southern Maine Planning and Development had issued a model for performance guarantees, which included other options that had been incorporated into this language. There was one email that came in asking what was the instigation for this suggested change, and that was it. Kevin put together the proposed language here. That email does ask, at the town's discretion, where did that come from? That was from our town treasurer, who said that the call should be made by the town as to which of the three options would be most fitting. And for the purpose of specificity, I think we should consider including the language at the town treasurer's discretion. I think would have the best call to make as to which of these three options would be apropos. I'll open the public hearing to any input from the public on this. Any questions?
Joe? Go ahead. Yes.
Josh Nason with the Brookview subdivision there. After going through the planning board and doing all of this with everybody,
Right.
I'm finding it very hard on the other side, receiving my funds back or to what the funds should be for my releases due to the fact that we've had inflation in the 2 years that we took to get through this and this project and everything. You know, I'm submitting where I feel I'm at. The third party the town's hired is feeling I'm somewhere's over there, and I'm over half done, and I'm not even close to the funds that need to be released. I'm willing to negotiate, but I come here to sit down and get answers. I'm not getting anywhere. But if this was a bond, bank would have paid my vendor. You guys would still be insured. The project would be completed. Like, I mean, I'm struggling to get first payment out to my vendor. I'm still in dispute with the town trying to get somewhere.
May I ask who in the town you're contacting, please?
I've sat with the treasurer. I've sat with, not treasurer, but
Town
Which I would-
manager.
and the town manager sat with everybody. Then I've been explaining that their hands are tied and they take direction from Jay Smith.
Oh, he's the outside expert.
Correct. Who I can't even get a hold of anymore. After our initial meeting here, I've left voicemails and cannot get a hold of him to get the answers I need to be able to submit a corrected invoice or anything to the town. So I'm standing here completely up against it, trying to pay my vendors, and this doesn't really work, I guess, at the end of the day. I mean, I'm still going to be back here tomorrow morning sitting with the town manager trying to resolve this, because if I can't get answers from your third party, I can't fix it. So you guys are going to have to get me the answers, or somebody's got to move. Like, I mean, I'm to the point where I'm really struggling with this. I don't know what else I can add to it, but it's really a hard system to work its way through. I mean, I'm trying to follow the ordinance the best I can, and I'm just, their third party's understanding of this, he's still referring to it as a bond. Doesn't even understand the difference. It's not a bond.
I don't know who hired the third party from the town's point of view, you, Joe?
I was just told that I had to pay for him and he was going to be in charge.
Who told you that? Did
Town
you have to pay?
manager, I had to put money in escrow, 2% of the sub. It's in your ruling,
Yeah.
which
Right.
I was aware of it. Like, I knew it was there, like, which we did, but I thought we were going to have open communication both ways, and this was going to work like that. Like, now I'm getting one sided and kind of getting railroaded and not making it anywhere. You know, I mean, I'm open for, conversation, but I'm just not getting anywhere with it.
And sadly, that's beyond our purview to do. We just,
And I get that, and
that's
that's,
why we're trying to make changes to make it easier.
and that's,
for you
I
guys.
wasn't even gonna come to this tonight, to be honest. I mean, I came up to sit with the manager, but I missed her. And
I think it's good to get your perspective. I can't remember the last, I mean, not because of the planning board, but I don't remember the last, we really haven't had very many subdivisions in the last 10 years.
no,
So,
Yeah, it's been a few years, a couple of years.
yeah.
Since the
We
and,
last.
haven't
and I
very
and I
many
get it.
large
It's just
ones,
this
but,
one's
first time we've heard this issue that I've heard of it anyway.
Right.
yeah. I mean, I've been trying to resolve it for a week and a half now, 2 weeks, and I'm just not getting anywhere. I've got to get him paid, like, even a percentage of it. Like,
Right.
Yeah, I get
I understand it may not line up 100% because of everything, but somewhere's in the middle would be nice. Like,
Right.
so everybody can just get paid, and I can be done in 4 or 5 weeks. Like,
You want to get done, get paid and be over with it.
pretty much.
Yep.
They're looking to pave the beginning of July sometime. Like, so, but that's what I had to add to it, anyways.
So thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Thank you.
We got through with the research that we did in advance. The Southern Maine model did have letter of credit and bond as options. And through the course of research that I think you did,
Mhm.
in particular, Kevin, we're a little bit of an outlier compared to other towns that
Absolutely.
have those other two options as well. So we'll address it in more detail when we get into the regular meeting. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments or questions from the board? Don?
Yeah, I'd like to read an email that I got from a town resident who couldn't be here tonight. This is from, I mean, it's public information, so it's from Michelle Felicity. And it says, the applicable parts are, since the change being proposed is vague and gives no definition of who the town is and what changes they can do. Legally, this could be a nightmare. Points to be considered. An ordinance will be held to be void for vagueness when it forces people of general intelligence, I'm not sure that includes me, but whatever, to guess at its meaning, leaving them without assurance that their behavior complies with legal requirements. When terminology is so vague and ambiguous that those regulated must guess at its meaning, and a CEO or board is given license to act based on preferences or criteria so subjective that they are virtually unreviewable, the courts have held that this constitutes an improper delegation of legislative authority. Under the plain meaning rule, the law court has stated that in drafting their ordinances, municipalities should say what they mean and mean what they say, because court will not interpret them and then provides a reference. For these reasons and many others, I'm against the change being proposed and would ask the planning board to remove this from consideration for the voters in its currently proposed language change. Thank you for taking the time, blah, blah, blah. I would just point out, number one, this is part of the subdivision regulations, which is not an ordinance. It's the only, how can I say this nicely? It's the only thing the planning board can do by itself. Everything else, all the ordinances have to be approved by the town. And my feeling, I think Kevin did the review here. We were trying to make it somewhat more flexible for future, maybe current subdivision. People want to build subdivisions. We all need housing. Or we don't need, if you have a house, you don't need a house maybe, but if you don't have a house, you might want a house, right? Your kids might want a house. So we're trying to make this a little more flexible. As far as the wording that was read there, personally, I think it's fine, and I think we got that from the treasurer. And my feeling is this, I'm not sure I can say this nicely, but the planning board doesn't have a horse in this race. I mean, in the sense that we want to make sure the town is protected, not from a specific developer, but from developers in general in case they don't finish the job. That's why there's performance bond or check. The ordinance as written says, check, cash is king, give us a check. Other towns have more flexibility. So my feeling is that if there's any question on the wording, let the town treasurer and the town manager work it out. Personally, I don't say I don't care, but I think the wording is good the way it is, but I'm just pointing it out that there was at least a person who submitted an email that had a different viewpoint. So that's my 2 cents.
A point well made and a point well taken. And that's why I suggested that the language be modified to read at the town treasurer's discretion. So that there's more specificity there.
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out, in my research, a lot of the towns and cities around here have that vagueness built into theirs. For example, the town of Waterboro says that the performance guarantee shall be tendered in the form of a faithful performance bond, a letter of credit, or a certified check running to the town and issued by a bank or surety company acceptable to the town of Waterboro. There's no specific person mentioned. Same with the city of Westbrook. Performance guarantee says a performance bond running to the city or a credit or a letter of credit from a financial institution, the amount and form acceptable to the city.
And
No.
it does at the end say approved by the town treasurer.
Yes, it does.
So it is addressed. Any further questions or comments on the proposal? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this. And we'll-
Close the public hearing.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Folks, we're going to shift gears and go into the second public hearing here. Welcome to the June 5th public Planning Board public hearing. This hearing will now come to order. The Lyman Planning Board is holding a public hearing to review the application of the Jakes LLC, 1 South Wardboro Road. We'll discuss the proposed revision, discuss and get input from the public on the proposed reopening of the church and holding of classes in the hall for yoga, Pilates, and personal treatment rooms. This is a public proceeding. You have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all exhibits that are offered. Please notify the board chair if you have any difficulty seeing or hearing the presentation. This hearing is being recorded and televised on YouTube. All persons speaking will be asked first to state their name and address or affiliation. All questions or comments will be directed to and through the chair, the board chair. It is required that you sign the sign-in sheet to document your attendance at this hearing. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. All right. Please have Mr. and Mrs. Jason Joyce, I'm sorry. JJ. Just explanation to the public, to the audience as to what you have in mind for the church next door.
Sure. The structure, the church structure, is going to be used for a small congregation, maybe a new congregation or a congregation that is looking for a more suitable place for them. And then the rest of the building will be used for, there'll be, like you said, there will be a big room in there that will be for yoga, it will be used for Pilates, it will be used for fitness. There'll be treatment rooms for things like, and not really sure what those services will be. It doesn't depend on what is available and really what the community is interested in. But things like reflexology, massage, there'll be energy work done in there. And so I mean, pretty cut and dry. It is a wellness space. It will be, everything that is done in there will be wellness space. So, and everybody that is practicing there will be experienced and certified.
Any questions from the public? Ms. Chase.
Could you tell me the plans to help mitigate or adapt to traffic patterns and parking? It's a pretty dicey intersection as it is. I'm not against, actually really like the idea, but I'm concerned about just knowing what having people fly by school buses with their stop signs out on that road, adding more traffic to that, which hopefully could have open business. But what are the plans? There's not much parking either. So I'm just I want to get a better idea of how traffic's being planned to be handled.
Okay. Do you want to take that one?
We're going to call the sheriff's department, let them handle it. Honestly, I don't see us creating that much traffic. It's a small yoga studio, and I'm not.
On a very busy intersection. Very, very busy. I pass it all the time taking my kids to gymnastics or soccer or whatever they have. And especially during the quote unquote rush hours, it's kind of like taking your life into your hands to cross over 35. That's where my concern comes from.
Good.
Other questions?
Rick Howell, 429 Goodwin's Mills Road. I did the work for the buyers when they bought it, and I think that a use of that building would be good. It'd be nice to see some life there. I too have a little concern about no on-street parking. I'm a little it's a bad intersection.
Yeah.
The stop signs have helped. But I think that as long as there's no on-street parking, it can be manageable. And does this require site plan review in addition to the hearing? I mean, there is it does have to be site plan.
Yes.
Right. So there'll be a review of traffic
Mhm.
and a review of anticipated parking spaces. And I
Yes.
really think that that's the job of the planning board, and I would encourage you to seek a way that could be approved, and I think it should be. But parking is going to be an issue.
Other questions, comments?
I have-
I'm sorry, in the back.
Well, I just have a comment. My name's Martha Fishback, and I live at 1070 South Waterboro Road. And I've been a resident in Lyman since 1987. And I am a recently retired hospital pharmacist who's been practicing energy medicine for the past 20 years. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for the community and to experience alternative ways of healing. And just for the Lyman and Dayton residents, I would welcome the opportunity to work close to home.
Thank you, Ms. Fishback. Ms. Chase?
I should have said my address, 486 South Waterboro. I just wanted to add in the daycare right across from it too. I live on Wood. There's a daycare right across the street, a Montessori daycare for Briarwood. There's traffic issues there. I think we can improve on it. I really love the idea. I just wanted to be on everyone's mind that there are traffic issues there. There's a Montessori school right across from it. Lyman Elementary just drop off and pick up there for the elementary school, so it's something that needs to be on our minds for thoughtful planning.
Maybe consultation with the folks who run that school as to how they address traffic? That'd be worthwhile.
My kids aren't there. They went to a different daycare anyway. They're out of daycare. They're in school.
Other questions, comments from the public? Any questions, comments from the board?
Have you, what would you, just to follow on a little bit on this, do you have any feeling what you would have as a maximum size of at any one time of, well, let's call them customers, I mean,
Yeah,
you know, in the facility at once?
right.
Do you have any idea on that?
You know, I would say the yoga room is probably no more than 15, I don't think, and to do it well and to do it comfortable. So 15, and then we will probably have 3 or 4 treatment rooms. So if we have 15 people in a yoga class and an instructor, it's 16. And if we have everybody in a treatment room at the same time, that's another 4 people. So.
The people, the only time you have a number of people leaving would be when a class ends, I presume.
Yes,
Then there'd be
right,
however many cars there would be of those people would have to leave somehow,
right,
unless they want to stay overnight or something.
right,
but
yeah, not happening there.
I don't think so.
How many parking spaces do you think we have there in your lot?
We have 17 existing ones, but they're all painted, the lines are all painted there and everything. And we do have that odd little driveway coming in off the side. That could certainly be turned into another, probably 4, I would guess. So
Have you had any further discussions with your neighbor about sharing parking?
No.
And the only exit from the facility is onto South Waterboro Road, I believe, correct? Entrance and exit. There's nothing on 35 that I remember. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's always going to be a traffic issue, but anyway, that's the parameters of this site. You got 50 people, you got maybe 15 or 17 or something.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions, comments? Sure, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close public hearing.
Second,
A second?
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll get into the regular
Thank you.
meeting now.
Thank you.
Here we go again. Welcome to the June 5th meeting of the Lyman Planning Board. This meeting will now come to order. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are offered. If the board votes to go into executive session, the reason for doing so shall be precisely stated. Please notify the chair if you're having any difficulties seeing or hearing. This meeting is being recorded for YouTube. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will prepare a written opinion which will be forwarded within 7 days. The board works from a prepared agenda and will be considering this meeting's items in the following order. The subdivision performance guarantee, J. Jakes LLC, Harper Residential Subdivision, Terry Ann Johnson. And we'll set the agenda for the next meeting, which will be, to let folks know, because it would have fell on Juneteenth, which is a national holiday. We'll be moving our next meeting to June 26th. And the subsequent meeting, instead of being on July 3rd, will be held on July 10th, once again at 5:30 each of those. Updates, if any, from the CEO, we'll go over the minutes, and any old business that has not yet been covered. All right, the subdivision performance guarantee. Would the board be agreeable to the insertion, although, as you mentioned, Kevin, Wartburg, Westbrook, necessarily have that degree of specificity, but including the town board town treasurer before discretion.
I think we should add,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
it should be more specific.
all right,
Even though it says town treasurer at the bottom.
at the end,
At the end, it says no permits shall be issued or construction or site work begun until the performance guarantee has been fully approved by the town treasurer. So
We want to probably keep it specific all the way
Mhm.
and get rid of that thing that says.
Mhm.
Okay.
That way there's no question.
Mhm. And let's see, as Don mentioned, this is not something that we have to run through the town for a vote. But I think the proper procedure would be for us to forward this proposed language to the town manager and select board for their review and approval.
Would that get past the town
Could
council?
Very good, thank you.
Could I say their concurrence,
Concurrence.
not approval?
Concurrence is what
It's the one thing we can do, planning board can do, so don't give it up. So I'd say their concurrence, but yeah,
So
I agree.
forward this to the town manager with a request that it be vetted by town council. And subsequent to that, send to the select board for their concurrence. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
We have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. Now, on to 1 South Waterboro Road. And as I recall, we had a couple of questions here and there. Parking spaces and size, I think you did respond to that. On the site plan, the map itself, we do have the scales A-OK, true north is shown. But at least I do not see the surveyor seal or is that an issue?
You're gonna bring that into us.
Well, as I explained last time, what I did is, there's no formal survey. What it is, I took an old mortgage survey and I just blew it up to have room to put everything that you requested on that set of plans. So,
Unfortunately, a classified survey is not a true survey.
I understand that. But
Our
it-
ordinance requires it, and I don't want someone later on to call us to task for not providing the true specified survey in the correct size.
Well, but if I may argue with you, your own application says that you can illustrate all this information that's required on a scale drawing on graph paper or a site plan prepared by a surveyor. So I believe I met the requirements that you have in there.
Did we ask for a waiver? I got, still going through the paperwork to catch up.
Mhm. Scale drawing on graph paper or site plan prepared by a surveyor. But,
I sit corrected.
But all the elements have to be there, so we have to go through that list,
The,
the requirements list, the eight.
my apologies, did you go through the checklist with respect to the completion of the
I
application?
don't think we do.
I thought we did.
I think we did.
Do we? We should-
I think at that point, the parking came up and such. So,
Oh, right here.
here we go. So anything in particular that you took note of when we went through there?
So permit is number 4. Permit a survey of the parcel made and certified by a registered land surveyor licensed in Maine relating to reference points. Plan must show true or magnetic north, a graphic scale, corners of the parcel, date of survey, and total acreage. So I have a note here that you would supply that.
Again, our application says a little bit different.
So in order for this to be approved, so I guess as long as the map has everything on it that we need, we
Scale.
do need signature, place for our signature.
Yeah, it is provided right there.
Oh, okay.
So I think that is addressed.
Okay.
Were there other issues as well? Again, we discussed the parking. And
Septic.
septic. That Bill, you suggested that there's some means to get a reading as to the capacity of the septic system, some sort of test that can be conducted.
Yeah, there's a company in Westbrook that'll come out. They can see what's in the ground. They've got a camera. They can go down and look at the system. They can plot it out for you, tell you the size of it, and everything, so you know exactly what you have. It wasn't a lot of money. It was $300, something like that.
But if I can recall correctly, you couldn't find any documentation on the septic system that does exist. Correct. So I think that
Yeah.
would be necessary for the CEO to approve. So. And was there anything else? Three things on it. Parking, the survey, and the septic system.
I would think on the parking that you would have plenty of opportunity to talk with the lodge next door and the town of Lyman for like weekend parking if necessary for overflow to keep things, contained off of the roadway. I mean, it's not something you have to do, but I'm just a suggestion, especially if it's not being used.
But you mentioned the weekend. Did you specify within the application, I'm sorry if I don't recall, proposed hours of operation?
Yeah, still not sure about that. I mean, ideally, we would have covered from the time that people are available. And a lot of people, will stop in these places on their way home from work at the end of the day. So we would like to have some hours in the evening. We're not talking about any late hours though. I mean, and there'll be no overnight type of things. During the day, we'll have classes during the day, but I think it's something that we're going to ramp up as we start to see how it goes when we start, and then how quickly this takes off. So, I mean, ideally, I would love to see this going from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. But, until we have the people that are actually taking advantage of the facility, it's hard to say. Yeah.
I would think that the least issue, the lesser issue of traffic would be in the evening because the school will be closed. The children
Right.
won't be coming out of school.
Yeah.
Town hall is closed.
Mm-hmm.
That that time of the day would probably be fine. But
They-
if you're having classes at 5 o'clock, or between 4 and 5, when people are picking up their children,
Right.
town
Yeah.
hall is closing at around that time, and between what, 4, I think it was at 4.
Yeah. And-
That's a lot of traffic coming in from people going to do their business from work.
Right, right. And I do appreciate the concerns around the traffic. And I will say that, you know, the classes, again, are going to depend on when people can come. So if there are a lot of classes, actually, most yoga classes, when I was working full-time, I used to think, I can't go to these things anyway because they're always during the day. And so we will have, I think that there will be a strong preference to have evening classes and, you know, things going on for people that do work. And then there'll be some during the day. So until we get into it and we see how this goes, where the concentration is going to be on hours that we're open will be determined over time. You know.
Do we want to, does the planning board want to put into the notice of decision the hours, the allowed hours? And not that they have to stay open that hours, but sometimes the applicant's been asking, like for certain facilities, no work before 8 o'clock, no work before 7 o'clock, or this or that or the other thing. I'm just asking whether you think the hours ought to be listed in the notice of decision or not. And in that case, I would recommend to the applicant that they ask, or they request the maximum number of hours they thought they would, so they don't have to go back if they want to do something later,
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out. Whether, I don't know that it's 100% essential to have it in there, but if it is, then it should be as flexible as possible. And I don't know how you're not gonna know that, some things you can estimate, but until you get rolling, you're not really gonna know what kind of business you're gonna generate.
Exactly, right. And that's part of my hesitation to state what the hours will be. I do think that 7 in the morning until, 8 or maybe 8 at night is reasonable, but also, the practitioners that we will have on site are going to be renting the space. So they're going to have their own clientele. So with some input there too, as well, for a little competition here. With their input too, once we start finding people that will be working on site.
We can't close
You
that.
can't have the door closed.
Oh,
I don't know, again, I'm not saying it's essential that it be in there, but
No, I think we could use,
okay.
well, one thing, the use of the church, evening services, is that a possibility?
Evening services, possibility. Yeah.
That makes sense. So
So-
Monday through Sunday would be the days that you would.
So would it be easier to say nothing from 11 PM to 5 AM? And that leaves, she's right. How the heck do you know what it's gonna be? You know?
Business could take off of people taking the class before they go to work, to go, I gotta get relaxed for the day of grind, or get out of work and go,
And even with that, there's a lot of churches at certain holidays will have midnight services.
Yep.
Do you say no?
you can't.
I don't think so.
That's true.
It's kind of a different situation than a normal
or no
9 to 5 business, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
I guess you could specify for the church, there would be no limit. It could be any time, but
I think unless there's an issue that arises that sometimes people come in and complain, let the business grow and develop its own timeframe. It's not like it's a high impact car wash, where people are gonna be coming in and out, and there's gonna be loud noises and.
You could have a lot of people in pain after they take the yoga class.
No, that's not the point.
Oh, sorry.
Well, once again, the sense of the board in terms of a timeframe for operation. Leave it unspecified, indefinite, come up with some,
I'd say until adverse conditions present itself, we make no limiting stipulations.
No, this is the first time we've ever given unlimited time, unlimited possibilities for, I think the public needs to know, the abutters need to know some parameters of when the business is going to be open. But I think you can go start early in the morning and late at night. And we could specify for any church events that, that would be different, that could be unlimited or could go later in the evening. But I think there should be a cutoff at night anyway.
Yeah.
There should be a cutoff at night,
Mhm.
even if it's 10 or
Yeah.
9 or whatever, but.
Yep, I mean, I was, I said 8, but again, thinking about the practitioners that are going to be renting space, they'll have their own clientele, so they'll know when it's best. So with time, and I don't think it'll take a long time, but with time, we will have, we'll get into this routine and we will have hours that make sense and hours that don't, and they may even change seasonally. It depends, it just all depends. So,
So I'm just putting it out there, you mentioned 7 to 8 for, dovetailing on what Cecile mentioned too, accepting the church services from that timeframe. Would that be agreeable?
from 7 to 8 p.m.
Mhm.
I think
For
so. I think so, again, and I'm not familiar with congregations and how they work. So do they do a lot of things at night? I mean, obviously, we're going to do what we can to stay out of trouble. I don't think there's going to be any issue with parking, and we will watch that as well. And as far as the hours, I mean, if you want me to stipulate something, I will, but I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. For the beginning and the end is a thing. We're going to be open, as much as we can. And as much as often as we can provide services, and we'll be open, I'm sure, days at the beginning where we're not offering anything. We hope to start with clientele, but when people come in, and a point was made here that, do people go to classes? I mean, they'd go to the gym before they go to work, but I don't know if they go to
That's what I was
classes. To be
thinking.
honest with you, this isn't going to
A lot of
be,
the gyms are open
I know.
5:36 in the morning till
Right.
9, 10 at night. And to me, those are kind of reasonable hours.
I like your idea of say like 10 at night till 5 in the morning. That way there, theoretically, you have a religious community over there and they wish to have nightly sit-down readings or educational classes, or I gotta be very careful with it because I don't say priest or church and all this. The religious person happens to have a member of their congregation that needs counseling. Is he gonna close the door and say, hey, I can't counsel you after 9 o'clock, even though you're having a hard time?
True.
So it's very tough. The yoga, or the religious spiritual services you provide, medical, you've got a client, you have one of your practitioners gets a message from whoever saying, I really need a therapy session. Squash
If I may
it.
ask, do the other churches and businesses in town have limits on their hours of operation?
Yes.
Gravel pits in particular.
No, I mean, the other churches.
Oh, God, I've been
I don't think we've had a church.
years.
Pre-existing.
I guess we'd have to look at the records to see if there's some, probably not. I don't think. That was before ordinances
Yeah.
were.
Normally, we knock on a parish.
One thing I
church.
know about society these days is people are very quick to complain if there's a problem, and I suspect they will if the yoga people get too loud.
Must they? I know it's not within the public hearing purview anymore, but Mr. Holt, do you have a question or comment? Without objection?
No
Without objection.
Thank you for the indulgence. I will tell you, if you remember, the daycare center was a yoga studio after it was a hardware store. And after it was the Goodwin's Mills auction barn. We took yoga classes over there, and I was thinking that 8 o'clock, if you are going to oppose an 8 o'clock deadline, that's just too early for the way the classes work, because you get home from work, and at 7:30, we would wander across the road.
I'd say 11 to 5.
Good point.
Say, as much
Okay.
as possible, be closed, but there's exceptions and they're okay.
Okay,
Is that reasonable?
yes.
I'd rather steal that.
Yeah, yeah, the wordage, like special events, like anticipated normal operating hours, and then special events might fall outside.
You have to put some weasel words in.
Yeah.
But not limited
Well,
to.
but, yeah.
But no, yeah, I like those. I like those.
Okay. Anticipated normal hours of operation.
Didn't mean
Yeah, that sounds
circumstances,
good,
maybe.
anticipated.
At 11 PM to 5.
Right, 11 PM to 5 AM,
Agreeable?
Would be no.
as much as possible,
Okay, great.
Get the
Great.
conditions.
but not limited to.
And exempting the church operations. Okay.
All right,
All right,
thank you.
do we now go through the 16?
Didn't we go through that? We already went through that.
We went through the,
But we don't have, you still don't have the septic issue. So,
we went through the checklist in terms of the application being completed.
it's complete, yeah.
And these 16 standards go towards approving the proposal.
So,
So is that where we are in our checklist?
question, did we discuss about the fire department? Because we do have some standards, that will not result in fire danger or whatever. Do we need to have
We would have to have the fire chief weigh
Is
in on
there-
those.
an inspection by the fire department?
You put that in as a condition, maybe?
Okay,
Have you had the fire department over to look at the place? No, okay.
yeah, because I think that we have to be, we need to be sure that they,
Mhm.
the alarms are working. Yeah.
Again, I think 16 standards would be the next step. Is
Yeah.
that agreeable? Okay. Well, we'll meet the definitions of the use, zoning district requirements, and any other requirements set forth in this ordinance.
I would suggest that if this application is approved, that I would use personal service business and church as the two, in the notice of decision. We've been trying to be a little more specific in the notice of decisions to try to say what category the applications have been approved under.
Mhm.
And the only thing church has got a definition, I think, but personal service business, got some weasel words in there. It says, a business that offers a professional service such as, but not limited to, barbers, hairdressers, beauticians, masseuses, and tanning salons. It doesn't say yoga, but you could probably get that in there. On church, I think, is there one, let's see if there's, I'm not sure there's a definition
There
of
is.
church in here. Church.
Mhm.
A building or group of buildings used for conducting religious services and accessory uses associated therewith. So I think that the application would sounds as if the application would fall under those two categories. Hopefully the applicant agrees with that, because this way, we can say specifically what the application was considered under.
Good point.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion that the applicant fulfills the first requirement?
I move that the applicant fulfills requirement number 1.
With the category identification that Don mentioned?
Yes.
Second.
personal services
Mhm.
and church.
Just to reiterate, because of my personal knowledge with Kevin Joyce, I will not be taking any votes.
So we have a motion, second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Should we make Bill the voting members?
For this, or is it,
It was already done.
Hmm?
It was already motioned when I first
Okay.
recused myself.
Oh,
so therefore Bill is a voting member on
on
this
this,
application?
On this application.
Okay, my apologies.
okay.
I agree.
Okay.
By vote. Will not have a significant detrimental effect on the use and peaceful enjoyment of abutting properties as a result of noise, vibrations, fumes, odor, dust, light, glare, traffic, or other cause. We have to do a little bit of investigation on traffic issues, I believe. But I think we'll address that in more detail when we get to standard 4.
Yes.
Well, who's the abutters on this thing? We got the town hall, right? Mr. Hall. Who else? We got the school,
The school.
the lodge, we got the cemetery. I don't think there'll be any complaints there.
them.
Library?
My father would.
Are they within range or not?
No, I think so. No.
They're outside of
The
the lodge.
lodge, yeah. So is there something that the applicant fulfills this requirement?
I make a motion the applicant meets the requirement of number 2,
Do I have a
standard
Second?
number 2.
Second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, will not have a significant adverse effect on adjacent or nearby property values.
I think the applicant, in fact, I won't call it repairing, but let's say improving the facility as it currently stands, certainly wouldn't have an adverse effect on property values. I think possibly, if anything, it could improve it, depending on how wonderful a job the contractor half of the applicant team does his job. But we're hoping he does a good job.
He has a good coach.
Probably got a good boss looking over him too. So I don't see that there would be any, and we also, the board has not received, to my knowledge, any adverse, any comments from anybody on possible adverse effects of property values. So I make a motion that the applicant meets the requirements of standard number 3.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, will not create a hazard to pedestrian or vehicular traffic or significant traffic congestion. So,
I'm not sure how you determine that.
I think that kind of falls in line with the hours of operation.
mhm,
Yeah.
Until we get complaints, it doesn't sound like it's going to have a negative impact.
mhm.
I mean, you could, it's always possible to require a traffic study. I'm not sure who does a traffic study. Maybe it's some guy who's a certified traffic studier. But, I mean, I'm sure there are people, seriously, that would probably do that, but, I mean, that's the only other, only other,
The last time I looked at a traffic study, they were looking at starting at $10,000.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. We have to remember that this was a church and had people that went there. And then they had that hall must have been used for other functions.
Mhm.
So, I don't, and the type of business that this is, it's not like a store.
No.
Yeah.
The other commercial operation that would have a lot of congestion with traffic, so.
Yep.
I think, people come and park,
Mhm.
attend the class, so there's not a lot of movement in and out of the parking lot.
The traffic nonetheless is a concern. Would be worthwhile asking the county sheriff to weigh in terms of any information he may have on traffic patterns and such. it's a bit, maybe just bringing it to his attention that this is a dangerous intersection. And with the increased use of the parcel on that thoroughfare, see if he would make any suggestions.
Is the sheriff department now, they're the only ones providing any, what do you want to call it? Coverage for, we don't have, is it the sheriff now? It's not the state police, is
I
it?
think it's the sheriff now.
It's listed in that 35 is a state road. Yeah, yes. Mr. Hall?
Can I tell you, that it's always the sheriff's department that shows up when somebody ends up on my front lawn, which happens
No.
More than once.
Occasionally.
occasionally.
Can we ask the fire chief, I know they have software that can spit out accident information for the area, like these intersections.
Okay. That can maybe dovetail into the standard 5, and getting input from the fire chief there.
So the crux of the traffic's probably gonna be off hours though. It's either gonna be weekend, if it's church related, or evening, which is not a peak time. The other things are not gonna have that many people attending to, I don't think you're gonna find cars parked up all the way down South Waterboro Road to the intersection, So,
Less traffic than we have at the town hall during election day, and we're 75 feet, 80 feet away.
Yeah.
And closer to a stop sign, which traffic will be reducing to get to the stop sign first,
hopefully.
hopefully. 40 miles an hour.
What do you think about Given's idea that asking the fire chief for information he has about accidents in that particular vicinity?
So would we
Well-
put that as a condition?
I'd say yes. When we get to number 5, we'll have to conduct a review of the facility
Okay.
and maybe include that as part of that review. That the
So the only downside of asking the sheriff's department or the fire department is it hasn't been used in the church for a long time, so there's no statistics for issues that arise from that.
Well, we provide like a baseline though as to how much traffic activity and accidents occur in that scene.
Oh, I think they're all gonna say there's too many accidents,
Joe?
Yeah.
Do we have, I mean, if we asked, or if the board sent a note to the, I don't know if we gotta go through the town manager or what, but to the county sheriff, asking for their comments or suggestions or, basically indicating where this business will be located and ask them if they have any recommendations for traffic. I mean, I don't know if they'll do that or not, because they're busy probably doing a lot of other things, but I don't want to hold this up and waiting for an answer, but if they're willing to comment, it would be probably good to have that as part of the record.
Okay. Well, maybe let's take it upon ourselves to send a note to the town manager asking if the county sheriff could be consulted on this.
Yeah, I would think so, since it is since people have pointed out that it's a major, it's obvious, it's a major intersection. And people are going fast on 35 and they sometimes stop on South Waterboro Road, not always.
Okay. So let's get back to the standard itself.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's important input. Motion to, as to whether or not the applicant fulfills the requirement?
I would make a motion, the applicant meets the requirement of standard number 4, subject to, if available, comments from the county sheriff regarding traffic statistics and/or recommendations to, use some weasel words, to be safer, to reduce the probability of traffic issues or something like that.
And it would be the planning board through the town manager that would make that inquiry.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, we've never tried this. They may say, well, we're too busy, but I would think it would be a good a good faith effort to get their input.
Was it on the
This would
radar?
also tell us whether they're, they're cooperative and willing, or if they're just so busy they wasn't doors, indoors.
Shouldn't the applicant be doing that?
I don't think necessarily.
No?
Because I think this is sort of an inquiry on our part.
Yeah.
Do you have a second on this?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Will, number 5, will not result in fire danger. That's contingent upon a inspection by the fire chief,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something to build in as a condition.
Yeah,
So
actually, 5 and 7 sort of tie together.
that they do.
We usually have that
Mm-hmm.
in hand before we approve.
You can make it subject to.
That's subject to, yeah.
If this is a building that's going to be occupied by clients, customers, public. It's not a
So
private home.
prior to allowing occupancy, confirmation from the fire chief of safety.
Right.
There's no sprinkler requirements.
I don't believe so.
I don't know.
No, I don't believe so.
I would imagine they would look at number of exits
Mhm.
and, basically how easy is it to get out of the building in case there's a fire or something.
Mhm.
I know there's multiple exits.
So would we would condition number 5 on a inspection on the part of the fire chief, and no operation of businesses until such time until such time that he approves the structure for use.
I don't think the CEO will provide a occupancy permit for a commercial enterprise until it meets the criteria for health, license, and safety from the code enforcement, the electrical, and the fire
That's
chief.
true.
So I think that's technically outside of our purview because CEO's got to get the permit on it.
Right,
Agreed.
but we
Sorry.
can't approve, we have to put a condition on it because we usually have that report. The CEO, I think, probably
I think you're right.
has that all in place.
So
before we
say
approve.
subject to,
So we put a
their-
condition on
their
that. We
approval,
approve it,
yeah.
but that condition.
Okay. Anyone want to word a motion to that effect?
For number 5?
Yes, please.
Okay, I move that the applicant fulfills condition number 5, provided that we get, with the condition that we have a report from the fire department on any fire dangers or
in
whether they
codes,
are,
codes and electrical.
the codes are all in place.
Second,
Yeah, I'll second that.
further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Will not result in flood hazards or flood damage, drainage problems, ground or surface water contamination, or soil erosion. There's no excavation going on here, of anything like that. So I would move that the applicant fulfills requirement number 6.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Will not create a safety hazard because of inadequate access to the site or buildings for emergency vehicles. And that's contingent upon the
Because the fire.
fire department's review.
And they normally would provide a letter saying,
Mm-hmm.
blah, 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 we have inspected and found this, that, and the other thing. Hopefully they don't find anything. I mean, they usually give it.
I would think that the condition that we put on 5 would be applicable to this as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion?
I move that condition number 7
Mhm.
is fulfilled by the applicant
Second?
with the condition
Condition.
Okay.
that we have a report from the fire department.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It has proposed exterior lighting which will not create hazards to butters traveling on adjacent public streets is adequate for the safety of the occupants and the users of the site and will not damage the value or diminish the usability of adjacent properties. You're not proposing any new lighting whatsoever, so it's inapplicable and therefore,
So it's gonna be basically up to the electrical inspector to say if it's appropriate or not.
And the lighting's supposed to be on
site
site plan.
plan. The only thing that was mentioned there is a light near the shed. That's, I think, out of commission.
Yeah, my only concern is, like come December, if there's evening classes, it's black. There should be some kind of lighting for the parking lot.
Yes.
That should be on the site plan as well.
Usually it's on the site plan. Do you have existing lighting now in
Exterior.
your parking lot,
On the exterior of the building.
exterior of the building?
There was one that was out of commission, I think. Wasn't there a light pole that wasn't operable anymore?
Into the shed.
But you weren't planning on reestablishing that.
I think the one on the buildings is adequate.
Could you resubmit the account with the lighting, exterior lighting shown?
I'm not proposing any new lighting, just the existing light that's on the building right now.
Well, usually we have the exterior lighting as it is now, shown on the map, I believe.
I think, this condition,
It's, number 8 says has proposed exterior lighting. I haven't proposed anything, so that's why I didn't put it on there.
okay, number 6 on the site plan pre-approval. Says size, location, direction, and intensity of illumination of all major outdoor lighting apparatus and signs. And I have a question mark there.
So if you could just
So-
resubmit the site plan with the exterior lighting shown, that would be sufficient.
So we should have some lighting.
All right. I propose that the applicant does meet number 8, contingent upon the submission of the site plan that shows the existing exterior lighting.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Makes provisions for buffers and on-site landscaping which provides adequate protection to neighboring properties from detrimental features of the development. The applicant shall provide a plan prepared by a registered landscape architect or other qualified professional approved by the planning board. No landscaping is being proposed here, so it's not applicable, therefore fulfilled.
Right.
Motion?
I move that number 9 is really not applicable, right?
Yeah.
Well, since the applicant's not
There's no change.
not changing the landscaping.
Second? Anyone?
I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of number 9?
Aye.
Makes provisions for vehicular parking, loading, unloading, as well as vehicular and pedestrian circulation on the site and onto adjacent public streets, which would neither create hazards to safety nor impose significant burdens on the public facilities. Parking has been addressed by the applicant. There's 17 spaces. The possibility for.
Is there only one entrance and exit on 35? I mean, on South Waterboro Road? There's just, or there's two?
2, there's
Is
the
that
main
one?
one and then that weird little one.
Yeah.
Motion?
So part of that would probably come with a report from the sheriff, right? With the, number 4, do not create a hazard to pedestrian or vehicular traffic or significant traffic congestion, so it sort of falls
Yeah.
into that category. If there's any issue, that would come up.
Yeah, not foreseeing the creation of any hazards in the
Right,
process.
right,
Pre-existing site,
Yes.
so
yes.
you're just reenacting a grandfathered use.
I move that the applicant does fulfill standard 10.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Couple more, folks. 11, makes adequate provisions for the disposal of wastewater and solid waste for the prevention of ground or surface water contamination. Again, there's a concern about the capacity of the septic system there.
Yes, I don't think we can approve that. I don't think we can, this condition has not been met.
Well, what's there now? What do you have for septic now?
It doesn't know.
Oh, you don't know?
No documentation.
Well, I mean,
You know where it is.
is there a septic?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you know if you don't have any documentation?
Well, I don't know what they put in. It was, best I could figure, it was put in back in around 72 when that rear addition was put in.
Is there I'm sorry, I think we probably went over this in the site walk, but is there a place where you can inspect you must have a clean out, right?
Yeah.
For the tank. Has that been checked at all? The
Yeah,
tank?
when we bought the property.
I'm sorry.
Yes, when we bought the property.
So they did an inspection.
Well, they just,
They didn't get anything in writing or not?
No.
They looked at?
Yeah.
So do you have any idea what the capacity is, or did you give that to? I don't think so.
I don't. What I would consider is that when they put it in 71, 72,
Yeah.
or that era, it was a much larger active church, and there was 8 classrooms in that new addition that they put in. There's 4 upstairs and 4 in the basement. So
Yeah.
I would like to assume that they sized it appropriately for that sort of occupancy. So what we're doing is pretty insignificant, I think. But
Yeah, gotcha.
Could approval be made contingent upon, as Bill suggested before, getting the services of a company that can provide at least the more information as to what you have out there, capacity.
I think this one is important. If there's any kind of contamination or if the capacities, I mean, you don't even, no one's looked inside there. Has it been cleaned? Has it been pumped out or don't know?
Well, I can tell you that we did have the water inspected or tested, and there's no sign of bacteria whatsoever. And I do have the testing results of the water supply for the lodge next door, and there's nothing in that. So
It seems like if the planning board wants documentation, it sounds like the only practical thing to do would be to ask the applicant to have either provide an inspection report from give me some words. I don't know, basically
Professional.
an improved septic tank. Well, I call Nest, I have my tank pumped here. I do it every 3 years. Not that you have to, but every 3 years, right? So I'm there when the guy does it, I can see. And I never asked him for a report. They give me a bill though, of course, no question about that. But would think maybe you could get some sort of documentation that would say, okay, we pumped the tank, it appears to be in good condition, blah, blah, blah. And no issues noted, or some documentation, since this is such an old system, but I don't think the town has any record of it, does the town? So, something to put in that file here, which would show that it was considered and due diligence was done. Not to overcomplicate your life, but, you know,
Just to cover this requirement.
yeah, I think so. I mean,
So
too bad we don't have any documentation, but I mean, that's not unusual probably for that age.
We have asked for it though. We've
Yeah,
asked for something
you know, got something.
about those
Anyway,
disposal, waste disposal.
can make this subject too, maybe, or,
Yes.
you know,
I would move that the applicant does fulfill standard 11, subject to acquiring information from a professional
professional.
service
Never mind, I'm not
that
going
would,
there. I'm not going there.
that would provide information about the capacity and the condition of the septic system. Second on that?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Nay,
you do nay,
yes,
you nay,
I nay,
why did you nay?
because we've been asking for some
Yeah.
documentation on this and
Yeah, got it,
it's still not here.
okay,
So-
thank you. Just ask.
Standard 12 makes adequate provisions to control erosion and sedimentation. Once again, no excavation going on here, no change of the building's foundation or anything like that. So I would move that the applicant does fulfill requirement 12.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Makes adequate provision to handle storm water runoff and other drainage on the site. Existing site, no reports of drainage issues beforehand that we are aware of.
Right, yeah, no, so it doesn't apply really, yeah, existing construction.
So, motion?
Move that the applicant fulfills the requirement for standard 13.
Second,
Second.
further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
14 provides for a water supply which meets the demands of the proposed use and meets the needs of fire protection services.
And again, we need the fire department's report. on
Could I
that.
ask again, I didn't notice it, is the building sprinkled? I don't think it is.
No.
So that would be up to, it'd be up to the fire chief to probably would not be a requirement for
New
it.
construction,
Yeah,
subdivisions, that's a requirement there.
but the safety inspection, the fire chief would, should cover that, I would hope.
I would think so. Motion on number 14.
I make the motion that the applicant meets the requirement, the requirements of standard number 14, subject to the inspection by the fire department, because it says meets the needs for fire protection purposes, so its inspection hopefully would confirm that.
I'll second that. Okay,
You got it, Bill.
all right.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Makes adequate provisions for the transportation, storage, and disposal of hazardous substances and materials such as defined by the state and federal law, the storage of chemicals, explosives, or hazardous items as defined by the National Fire Protection Association Code 704, Class 3 or 4 materials are not permitted. No hazardous materials there. I move that the applicant does fulfill standard 15.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And finally, will not have an adverse impact on significant scenic vistas or on significant wildlife habitat, which could be avoided by reasonable modification of the plan.
Well, based on the site walk, I didn't notice any scenic vista or significant wildlife habitat. There may be some chipmunks. In fact, if you need any extras, I have some. But I make a motion that the applicant meets the requirements of standard number 16.
Second, Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for your patience, everyone. But that concludes the checklist. I think we do need a full motion, though, that the board approves the applicant's proposal with conditions that are mentioned, such as the septic system information.
Somebody got these conditions written down. I'm not doing this one, so, I mean, I'm just saying.
I
We
got,
got, we
I got
got,
them mostly written down.
Okay.
yes.
Because I mean, it's gotta be, we should, obviously should record all the, notice of decision should record all the conditions in there, and also, I think we ought to vote that it comes under the categories of church and,
yes,
and personal, I think it's
personal services.
Personal services.
Mhm.
So I just have a question. When the notice of decision will be dated
Mhm.
and it gets filed within a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
But we have the conditions that we have are conditions of a permit, not conditions of application of their business.
Mm.
So, how does that work? If they don't get the fire department report in on time then really, we should not sign.
We don't sign
We don't sign.
until the information is provided. And as for the dating of it, that will be contingent upon us receiving the information.
So actually, we shouldn't approve the whole thing until,
I think
Until we
it
get
could be
those.
approved subject to the applicant meeting these requirements. And then when the package comes together, the applicant provides the additional information that's been requested.
Mhm.
Then I would suggest the planning board could take a look, verify that the information's been provided, and then vote to wrap it up,
to wrap it up. Okay.
whatever that means officially.
Final approval.
Yeah.
So, motion to approve the application contingent upon the additional information that is to be provided. So moved.
Don't look at me, I recuse myself.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Whatever you said there. Sorry.
Approval of the application contingent upon additional information being provided by the Goodwin's Fire Department and also on the septic system. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And the lighting on that. yeah.
No, just the lighting on the mess. Thank you. Anything else? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right.
Get your cough drop done?
No, I need something a little stronger. Maybe later this evening.
Later. Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for the patience in this process.
And thanks to the applicants for spending their money to fix up this facility, and I hope it's very successful. Seriously.
Thank you.
Good business.
Thank you very
And I
much.
hope then, not that the tax assessor would be increasing the value of the property, but that's a good possibility. So we'll see about that. Good luck with the project.
It's a church. It's gonna be tax exempt.
There you go. I like that.
Thank
Good,
you.
that's a good point.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
All right, next on the agenda is Harper Residential Subdivision. Mr. Barr and Mr. Harper, thank you very much for your patience on this.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
I just want to say my name's Max Harper. I'm a resident over at 574 Old Kennybunk Road for the last couple of years. And I just kind of want to have a halftime huddle before we get into the details of this. I listen to this stuff you guys bring up. I've been learning a lot last couple of years coming to these meetings. But I must say a few things have concerned me over the process. So I just kind of want to outline them from my point of view, so you guys can kind of see where we're at. So yeah, a couple years ago, the application is brought to you guys. The road gets discontinued. I understand you don't want to maintain it. I'm all for that. I went ahead and purchased the half from my neighbor for 12 grand. So be it. The next roadblock that was thrown at us was, the working with the town of Alfred, our great neighbors, and I get that we have to involve them, but I felt like we got that cleared up. And then there was some issue with the town line. So then I paid a surveyor, again, more money, $3,000, to find that town line and prove it to you guys. So we went ahead and did that. And from there, then I got contacted by the town of Alfred, basically asking to give a donation to help improve the road of the town that I'm not even building in. So that's very troublesome for me to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And now, with a proposed lot of 9 lots that I'm asking for the subdivision with 2 separate roads, I'm told that you guys are trying to get me to pave that when it's clear that it's for 11 lots. And all I ask is for your creative juices to go into helping me make more houses for people. And to be honest, like, this is just me trying to fulfill my father's dream, who bought this 20 years ago, and I'm not made out of money. And that paved road would make this impossible. That's a $200,000 decision. And it seems like you guys had that in your view ahead of time and tried to fit it into the ordinance. And that makes me really troubled. So all I ask is that we work together, we stick to the laws that you guys have, and we proceed forward. And let's get all the stuff we need to do out there so we can do it and get a good project going. And, I've walked around with you guys. You've been over to my house. I've just been sitting back. I've been afraid to say something, but I just wanted to express that because I'm worried every time I come to a meeting that there's going to be some new finding that just hits me in the gut. So I just wanted to express that. Joe will deal with the details of everything else going forward, but thank you for listening. And thank you for your work on this board. You guys could be doing a lot of other things right now, and I think this is important. And I know that you don't have a lot of subdivisions coming through, so you're warming up, but let's do this thing. All right, thank you.
We want to see to its completion as well.
Right.
And Mr. Hart, just with respect to our concerns about paving or not paving, again, we have to work with what we got. And the language of the street acceptance, section 2.3, was such that it could be reasonably interpreted that pavement might be necessary. Now, we ran this by twice past Lee J. Feldman of Southern Maine Planning. And his opinion on both occasions was that he sees the paving is not necessary. And we adhere to the advice that we get from folks, particularly someone as august as Mr. Feldman. So,
I'm happy to do it.
yeah. One other thing that he brought up, though, in his last communication was the suggestion of maybe interconnecting the 2 proposed roadways. And I believe, Mr. Martin, you mentioned that would be problematic given the wetlands that any crossover would interfere with.
It could be done, but to minimize the environmental impact, is the reason we didn't do that is because you got the significant vernal pool, you got the streams and the wetlands there. I would ask that, I know one of the reason that he asked for it was because the emergency vehicle access, I believe. So I'd be more comfortable reaching out to the fire department, and I don't know if there's like a fire, if there's an ambulance that's used by the town, if it's part of the fire department here.
Part of the fire department.
Okay, then I could just reach out to them to see if they have any concerns with access into those areas. And we might, there's some good concerns brought up at the last meeting that we're going to try to incorporate into the application we bring forward to you next time as well.
So the crux of the matter is whether or not I believe paving would be required if it comes forward. Perspective.
My opinion from day one is we have never since I've been on the board, any subdivision, done anything less than paved roads. You know, three roads, three buildings. We've never said, oh, you can do gravel. It's always been paved. Sometimes it's been curbing, other times it's been not. The other reason why, in this one, we were specific about curbing, not curbing, paved is to channel the stormwater runoff. Because there is so much wetland, the topography is varied. Gravel has a tendency to wash out. Now, where's that washout going? In the wetlands. So I have not wavered from the requirement for asphalt.
Other comments? No?
I know this is gonna shock you, but I gotta say, I think I was wrong. I'm a strong, very strong proponent of paving, only because, well, I live in a 10-house subdivision right down the street here. And I know darn well that the town's never gonna touch my road, which is paved to town standards, and thank goodness that it is, because, and I'm not sure if the town's accepting any more roads or not, but the town did accept our street through the select board, I think in 05 or something, or maybe 06, and it's the town's has filed it. So I'm strongly in favor of paving. However, reading the ordinance, the street ordinance, and listening to Mr. Feldman, not listening to, but reading his comments, even though I would very strongly, recommend paving, I don't see where the planning board can require paving in this project. And now maybe there's some weasel words in there that we could put over and try to push the developer into doing it, but we went to Mr. Feldman, and he's, not that he's the world's greatest expert, but he's an independent external viewpoint with no skin in the game, and none of us have, to my knowledge, have any financial interest in this project. I shouldn't have. I just want to keep up my own grass and stuff. I don't have time to mess with you guys. But anyway, I'm just saying that Mr. Feldman said it's not required, and even though I would personally very much like to see it happen, I don't see where the planning board can require the applicant to pave the roads, because that's what we're looking at, isn't it?
Can you explain to me, because Mr. Feldman did issue a subsequent email, and he reviewed the question again, and he said, I thought it was more about, can we require that the developer? So now, and then he quoted the language again, all private ways serving 2 lots, units or more, and created after date of the ordinance shall be constructed to the appropriate standard based on the maximum number of minimum size lots or units that can be subdivision on the parcel. So,
well, that was the wording that I read.
Right.
Quoted.
and then he's kind of like changed his mind, didn't he? It's not as clear, it's not as clear as the first time he said, no, you can't require it, it doesn't matter. It's whatever is being accepted as a subdivision, the number of units.
Yeah, because he says that it would have to come back to the planning board for any other units to be added.
That's how I interpret that.
Yeah,
So he's saying that if you decide to subdivide further and you get to that number 10, then you could, then you would have to pay for the roads. I think that's what he's saying. I'm not sure.
That's what I got out of it, yes. That's what I got out of it.
I saw consistency in his input from the May 6th communication, which reads, as previously noted, as I read the ordinance, the roadways would fall under the classification of exempt and not exempt 2 to 10 lots or dwelling units, which do not require pavement other than an apron at the intersection. I asked Mr. Feldman on the 18th, of last month, but Article 2.3 of the Lyman Street Ordinance Acceptance and Design Construction Standards Ordinance reads, all private ways serving 2 lots, units, or more, and created after the date of the act shall be constructed to the appropriate standard in 2.3 based on the maximum number of minimum size lots or units that can be subdivided on the parcel. Given the Harper parcel is about 59 acres, it can be divided into 11 lots based on our 5-acre standard for the zone in which it is located, then might the requirement for paved lots applied. His response: Joe, if I understand your question correctly, you're thinking that the street would need to be paved because of the potential for the number of lots that could be treated. Unfortunately, you can't look at it that way. You can only go by what is proposed at the time, because nothing can be proposed beyond what is proposed now until a much later date, if ever at all. That's how I came to the conclusion that I did. So this is helpful, and thank you for. So I think that supports what he said originally, that in his purview, his reading of 2.3, paving is not a necessity.
But there was a further clarification of his comment on May 23rd. I think
He
that's
said,
what
he
Cecile's
said
reading.
he was following up. Yeah, see that one.
Okay.
Do you have an extra copy of that?
Yeah. I forwarded these to you, I believe.
I got the first one, I don't.
Believe I got this one.
You know what I mean?
I did not see
He's rolling back.
Would you read that one, please?
Yeah,
For
sorry.
a second.
Good morning. Joe had asked the question earlier in the week to me regarding the standards being based on the potential lots being developed versus the proposed lots. I thought that it was more about what can we require that of the developer. Now seeing the language, and he refers to 2.3, this suggests to me that the road design shall meet the standard based on the number of units that could be subdivided on the parcel, regardless of the developer restricting it to 2 lots, for example. So if the standard for street design changes due to the number of lots or vehicle trips, then the street needs to be built to that standard. I apologize, I did not see that.
So a possible solution would be to drop that parcel from 59 acres to 54 acres. Therefore, it would not fit for 11 units.
One of the things that caught my attention is I remember, was it 3 years back, 4 years back, where we went to the parcel next door for a subdivision. Of part of that original, what is now that 59-acre parcel. Now we are looking at another subdivision of a large parcel.
Say that again.
Would it be in compliance with the ordinance if we agreed to no paving, but condition that if any further subdividing of these lots in the future, then you need to review the road standard ordinance, road standards again, and you probably
We
would have to
subdivided
pay,
another parcel off here years ago.
right?
A
I
few
mean,
years ago.
would that be in compliance with our ordinance?
I think a reasonable interpretation. And my apologies, I didn't see this.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Is this the same place?
Because that was when,
Yeah, but is that part of the 59 acres?
no, it was part of this right here. There was a,
Yeah, but this is what we're talking about now, so it's got nothing to do with that.
that was the original parcel split. That's my,
No,
my
I
concern
see,
to
yeah.
it.
Areas around the turnarounds for emergency vehicles. I want to make sure those areas are as flat as possible.
But as for the connection between the streets or.
I mean, there's, you gotta weigh the impacts to the wetlands and stuff. That's probably a bigger.
Will more damage be created by creating the pass-through
Yeah.
than the potential for not doing the pass-through.
Yeah, I mean, if the fire department's okay with it, it's really nothing to be concerned with.
So,
So where do we stand here?
well,
Get confused
I think
again.
my apologies, I did not see that email from, not sent to me from CC. But I think Cecile's proposal has merit, that any subsequent subdivision would have to require re-examination of the street standards.
Would that be an amended subdivision plan? In that case, then
It would have to be an amendment to the plan.
Yep.
which would bump it up to what would be considered a 10 or 11 lot subdivision.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, realistically, there's no, anywhere further down these roads, you run into that huge stream wetland complex, and there's really no potential for any expansion of this in the future.
Well, you could put, then, just following along here, then you could put an addition on the general notes or something on the plan, couldn't you?
Yep.
To cover that restriction, because the planning board's got to sign off on the plan, and that makes it official, right?
Yep.
So that would, I think, accommodate what the issue is here.
We could, I mean, there's also, Max is working on some language for the homeowner association, and we could add some language into that as well, kind of the same note, so that anyone's looking at that, they'd see it as well, that, if they want to add additional lots, they've
I don't
got
see,
to
I mean,
upgrade the whole road.
Looking at that plan, I don't see where you could put additional lots in. Could you? I don't see.
I mean, not unless,
Let's just let off
the
something.
town came through and reduced the minimum lot size to an acre,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right,
okay.
and that's a good possibility that they're gonna reduce the lot sizes,
Who is,
the town.
oh.
I mean,
That's in discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
It's a long way off.
Mhm.
Could happen. Well, I think that's is that a reasonable compromise? I mean,
I would agree.
I don't
with that.
see, again, I'm strongly in favor of pave, but I don't see where the planning board should force an applicant to meet that requirement if the ordinance doesn't specifically say it's required. And so I think we gotta work with the applicants in this way.
I think it's a reasonable proposal, given the friction or inconsistency that we have between the narrative in 2.3 and what we see in the chart.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, but
That's
the
just
exception to the
fixed.
chart is outside of the chart, so
Mhm.
it's,
Yeah, it is.
it's easy to overlook that.
It is, yeah. It's right down.
Actually, thinking about this, I mean, it's kind of unrelated to this, but the only road that I could see potentially expanding in the future is the discontinued portion of Old Kennebunk Road,
Yeah.
because that just does continue on. And I don't know the landowners past that, but if someone acquired that, they could continue to upgrade that. But once they reach the 10 lots, they'd have to upgrade the whole thing to paved.
Yeah,
So.
I've got a couple of fits, Hassan and Du Bois.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, motion to adopt the proposal that the seal has suggested?
Whatever it was.
Give it a go again.
That paving is not required unless, if the lots are further subdivided so that you come to the number 10 of 10 units on that subdivision, then you'd have to pave the roads.
Yep.
Before any construction or any division can take place.
Is it 10 units or 11?
It'd be 11.
It would be the 11th.
So, yeah, so I think we want to be clear on that.
Right. But you've got
Number
the-
11, yeah.
10 is
You
the
got 10 now,
cap.
we got
Yeah.
9 or 10 now.
It's 9.
Nine.
Yeah.
Right now.
No,
It shows
so-
something.
So you got a
Two
buffer.
more and-
Yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed.
Opposed?
Is there somebody opposed? Is there a nay?
The 4-1.
I hear a nay?
Nay.
Nay.
Negative.
Negative. Okay, got it.
Okay.
I think we just, Brock could come back and change everything that we required on
Well, let's look at number of parcels.
them. 7?
This is approved.
would include the one on South Woodbury Road, I think it's 11.
All right, thank you.
I think we're all set.
Good luck with your project.
Take a while.
Stick good. I gotta wish him luck.
Ms. Johnson, thank you very much for your patience.
Is there time for me?
Oh,
We're running out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So.
No, we have not walked through whether or not the application, which we've just received, is complete. So we have to go through those.
I just had that file. Where'd I put it?
An application.
Yeah, Encompass Joy,
I got yours.
I being one of the members.
How many members are there?
2,
Oh. So are you the better member?
yes, this is my baby.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ms. Johnson, could you please refresh our memory and the audience as well as to what you have in mind at the location that straddles the border between ourselves and Arundel.
Right, right.
What used to be Ashley's and.
Correct. Yep, we're not going to discuss Ashley's, the cafe, because that is Arundel. I'm here tonight for 1301 and 1303 Alfred Road. 1301 is the small residence, which I've been slaving at. And I'm going to be filling with a resident. It's not going to be a short-term rental. This is providing housing.
Your plan is to sell it. Is that what you said?
No. I'm going to fill it.
Fill it.
Yes, but I'm not going to Airbnb it. I'm not going to do short-term renting. There's such a need out there. So the commercial building, 1303. I am proposing to have a couple of concrete pads beside that building for whether it be a truck, a trailer, or a food cart. Don't want to invest in putting more reclaim or cement pads until this is approved, because I then would want to put up have CM, a electrician put a nice post with different ampage for the use for them, so that there'll be no generator run vehicles.
And this is the building that we had approved before as a
The meadery, correct. And I also have interest in a very small brew batch system. But the kitchen already has the 3-bay work sink, the hand sink, the electrical was done, and I believe it was approved for the Orsteds to do the meadery. They just never followed through with their plan. So I do want that to be used for prep space. There are prep tables in there already. The sinks still apply. There's some great space for dry storage, refrigeration and things of that such. Picnic tables outside. So there's a fence that abuts the little home. It's kind of L-shaped. I have a gentleman who has come up from Boston who's got some great reviews and has won many contests for his barbecue. He'd like to put a smoker behind the building, so there's no need for a gas or propane oven or fire suppressed system or hood within the prep space. Everything gets smoked outside, and he does that once a week. So barbecue, he also has a wood-fired pizza truck, but he has that set up over on Route 1 in Arundel, and Arundel will not allow him to have both of his operations together on the same site. I'm not sure. But he is permitted to do the pizza over there. He could bring his pizza oven over and set it up outside and do barbecue at my spot, but he's looking right now at utilizing both places. So I've got plans for where I'd like to have seating. There would be some seating going inside the bollard area behind the cafe, just because those bollards are there for safety. I had the trees limbed in front of the house. There is some fencing and nice little blue spruce trees about to be planted on the rear side of the trees, which on the house side, I should say, it's for more privacy for that resident. And on the side facing the cafe side of the trees, there will be a few more picnic tables as well. I'd like to have all the patron parking over to the right side of the parking lot so that if I have a couple of food entities next to the small log cabin, that is mostly where patrons will walk and sit. If that makes sense.
Now, I think this would fit under the category of artisanal food and beverage facility.
Yes, I believe I put down what I thought the uses would be. There were 2 uses I think I put off to the side
Under
when I studied the uses.
A and N. Sorry about that.
5.4.3. A is artisanal food and a beverage facility.
Mhm.
And what was the other one? Oh,
So, and
Yes, farther down.
Restaurant, fast food.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how, if each town considers a food truck or trailer or cart fast food. So
That's how fast they drop.
I'm just trying to cover my bases. I would like to have a nice variety, though. I would like this gentleman to anchor down with the smoker. He really would like to just be there permanently. But the other 2 pads, I would like to be able to have perhaps somebody, a few other parties that are interested in rotating through, whether it's a couple days, a week at a time, so that we have some variety of meals offered.
And this is nothing, you aren't including the building in this, are you, the current restaurant, because that's in Arundel, isn't it?
Correct. That's got nothing to
So
do with the
this is
cafe.
only about the part that's in line.
Correct.
Thank
You're
I
welcome.
thought you were doing us to make sure we don't get things crossed up or anything.
No.
So
Are you,
it's a funny line.
And the diagram that you provide for the wastewater disposal system application, at least on that diagram, shows that the restaurant is in the Arundel side of the town line.
Yeah.
Right.
In a separate one is for the residents.
That's right.
Yeah, I believe the Orsteds had added on that disposal system there that you're looking at was updated in 20 because they had planned on, there is a bathroom in the, what would have been the meadery.
Yeah.
will you have public bathroom facilities?
I don't believe so. I think if anything, I might put a porta potty, one, just for the sake of, if the cafe opens as what I choose for a cafe, I'm still working on that. I don't mind people coming in to use those bathrooms, but they are quite narrow bathrooms. I think that there probably needs to be something else there. Correct.
So it seems to me, please, correct me if I'm going in the wrong direction. Ascertaining whether or not the application is complete, and then setting a date for a public hearing.
Right, so we should look through the list to see if it's complete, right? We don't have those. Do you have
Based on one of these guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
We gotta see the
Yeah.
checklist.
The checklist, yeah.
All right, let's walk through this. Site plan drawn to scale not smaller than 1 inch equals 40 feet. And what we have is for this wastewater disposal, a 1:60 ratio. And 1:20 on those areas that lie within Lyman.
But we don't have setbacks, we don't have abutters, we don't have list of abutters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yes, that would be the next step, is to get all of those things.
Mhm. Name, address of the applicants, total floor area, ground coverage, location of each proposed building structure or addition. And as Kelly is suggesting, perimeter survey of the parcel, all existing and proposed setback dimensions. So we would need a map that would have those features in it.
Explain to me further, just so I fully understand.
Well, maybe an example of what we had from the previous applicant. I think I do.
So I'm looking for the,
Well, it's got the lot coverage in here.
Right.
on page.
And the Orsteds had that all worked out
Mm.
with the meadery.
Could we could we go through the files and get the diagram that the Armsteads had?
Is it in the file? I
What-
don't know.
You gave me a bunch of verbiage and sheets regarding their application process for the meadery.
Mhm.
I didn't bring all that with me this evening, though.
I thought we would require a survey because of the questionable exact location of the Arundel Lyman Town line. And one of the things I picked up on is your if the town of Arundel gets uppity and forbids you from allowing access to food trucks through Lyman, through Arundel, I don't see direct access to the property. So if they say absolutely not, you cannot use it, and you cannot use a tarmac.
Jim didn't have any problem at all, the CEO of Arundel, with there being food trucks, as long as they sat on Lyman property.
Yeah, okay. Which may require you to add, were you gonna have the trucks on pavement or?
If anything, the materials would probably be either more reclaimed, because there's quite a significant amount in front of that little log cabin, or cement
Well,
pads.
see, that's the issue, is in front of the log cabin is you're more in Arundel.
Oh, no. It's actually quite a bit further. It's closer to the cafe, the line.
That's what I'm asking, because if I look here, I'm looking at a distance from there to the line of maybe 10 feet, 15 feet.
Maybe if you guys come and site walk it.
We need survey. We need someone with a license that's going to put their reputation and job on the line to say, it's not 10 feet, it's 11 feet. Sometimes it gets that close. And
Well, then I know
some-
there's definitely room for two people to sit next to that building. But the positioning could also change. I could also have somebody sit on the rear side of the building.
But you see the point I'm getting at. Depending on where you put those trucks, it may be encroaching on the Arundel side.
Oh, I definitely don't plan to encroach the Arundel side.
But until you have a survey that says, this is where this parcel is, I'm on the line, I'm not on the line. You don't know. You're going, well, it looks far enough.
No, they just put up actually the town line sign, and I spoke with the DOT, and they could see very clearly that the line goes diagonally through the parking lot.
And they did a survey.
It almost touches the backside of the cafe. So there's multiple spots that I could have food vendors.
But do you see what I'm saying? 'Cause
I
right
do,
here,
I do.
And that's why I always say Class C survey is useless. This says Arundel line, Lyman line.
Hmm.
The DOT, have they provided you with a survey, with surveyor's stamp on it? that
I didn't get
says-
anything with a stamp on it.
Right, that's my stick.
Yeah.
I want to protect you. I want you to be
Oh,
successful.
no, that's fine.
I would
But I can
ask-
reposition where I want to put the food trucks in, because
Right.
there's no doubt in my mind that between the commercial little log cabin building and the home, is all Lyman.
I would ask DOT for that. They probably would provide it.
I don't know if they have that. They were looking at their GIS and their maps.
Mm-hmm. How did we pass that? This is no survey.
Is that the only thing in there?
I don't see
When
a
was that
survey.
done?
No, nobody's
Let's see,
paid for a survey.
5/5/2021.
Is it signed by somebody?
Yeah, signed by the board.
No. Is it signed by a survey?
No, there's no surveyor on it.
The key is 2440. Like, I think,
It just seems that there are a number of things that we're still in need of
you see that, John?
before we can go
That's what we
forward in
all
terms
have
of
to do.
declaring the application to
Yeah.
be
This is all we
complete.
got. Oh, yeah, we did sign this.
Yes.
Obviously,
So I think one of the differences, though, the meadery was not entertaining clients. I mean, there was no customers, that all of their, I believe their business was mail order. I think it was very clear.
Yep, that is correct.
They didn't
Yeah.
have any customers or anything.
Yeah.
So it was very clear that their operation was in Lyman, and we had nothing to do with the cafe. That was a totally different,
Different beast.
different business.
Yeah. I can reposition these vehicles. They can go back and buy the crushed rock and the fence, then that is Lyman.
Yeah, backside of
You
the
know,
Yep.
cabin.
Yep.
You're going to have people parking and driving, like Kelly brought out. I think we need to have more definition on your site plan, on your map. And that's my opinion. I don't know how to.
I think for your own protection, you need an actual survey with specific delineations. I mean, it says that it's gonna be 40,860 square feet, but that is a combined lot. For your safety, your protection, I think you need a delineation of where is Lyman.
I thought it was
and where
just-
is Arundel.
Yeah, asking for the lot. And no, I wasn't, but when I met with you guys 3 weeks ago, I wasn't told that I had to do a survey. I mentioned to you that I may conduct a survey. I need to get revenue coming in there. I'm fixing up this house
I understand.
and I have nothing running there yet.
So on your
The cafe's
surface
the last.
wastewater
Yeah.
disposal application,
Mm-hmm.
it says it's some Albert Frick Associates
Correct.
are not surveyors. Property information is approximated. Verify property lines to assure accurate location prior to system installation. So technically, I would think there should have been a survey done before anything was done, but apparently it wasn't.
Nobody can seem to find
I
one.
don't have a-
I understand.
But, I mean, requirement number 4, your application to be complete is a perimeter survey of the parcel made and certified by a registered land surveyor licensed in Maine relating to reference points. Plan must show true and magnetic north, a graphic scale, corners of the parcel, date of survey, and total acreage.
If you said that Arundel had changed it to not allow commercial application at the restaurant?
No. He's absolutely fine with that being a cafe. I
Oh,
actually,
good.
I do not have to go to the planning board for Arundel at all.
Because it was already approved previously, or what?
Yes, it's a grandfathered cafe.
Oh, okay.
And he doesn't really care what kind of cafe I make it.
Yeah.
He
mean,
just-
there was no worry about the lapse in time or anything from when it was,
I have 2 years from the time I tell him what kind of cafe it will be.
you tell the run.
Correct.
Good, sounds like.
Yeah.
Flexible.
Maybe I'm reading too much into this, because I was under the impression from the last time that you were not gonna be able to have a cafe in there.
No. He demands it be a cafe. That's the
Kinda
issue.
change it, right? It has to be a restaurant.
Yeah.
cafe.
I didn't exactly plan on flipping eggs and running a cafe, but I'm now going to have to have something run, pumping some sort of food.
Waffles are nice.
You said find out how minimal it could possibly be to keep that grandfathered use alive, because the other uses for that building are minimal.
Joe, the plot plan that we have that was approved,
Mhm.
was approved by who? Was it our planning board?
This
Yes,
board,
yes, right,
3 years ago, apparently.
right.
So where does that put us legally? Where, is that something we need to accept now?
Good question.
Yeah, do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I understand.
See, my only real concern is how close you are to the boundary lines. That, because I've seen where people put buildings up and they're on somebody else's property, you know, without a legal survey. That's the only real question that could come up.
These are long-term existing structures.
True.
Mhm.
You're not changing, you're not adding.
No.
Um, My big concern is, where does Rundle start and Lyman start?
I think that when we approved that, it was, maybe we were trying to work with the applicant, I don't know, I mean,
Mhm.
you know, in retrospect,
Well, I'm not
but I'm
questioning
just saying, you know, we.
what the approval was. My question is, are we required to accept that as legitimate at this point to move forward?
Because we had prior.
Because it was prior accepted. If that's the case, then we just got to move on.
Well, but that does not have, I mean, there are additions to this.
I realize that, but that was accepted by the planning board.
Right.
So now
Because-
it becomes an official document.
Are you questioning that little log cabin is not Lyman?
No.
Because that's why the meadery
No.
came to you.
Right.
No.
No, I think the point is that maybe, in retrospect, maybe the planning board at the time, which I was a member, should have required
Well,
a registered survey, but it sounds like, as I remember, we were trying to work with the applicant and the proposed uses fit into this, and they provided that, applicant provided that.
so my question is then, if that was accepted by this planning board, do we say, okay, let's move on? That's my question.
I would be inclined to say yes, but with the proviso that we take a look at who the abutters are mentioned here to see if there's been any change.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Infinity Federal Credit Union, I don't know, if
That's
it's the
changed.
same company or just with a name change in body.
I think Julie has a question.
No, I don't have a question. I just, looking through the file from Orsted.
Mhm.
They requested a waiver from proposed and existing setbacks.
Huh.
Well, it says the request for a waiver from proposed and existing setbacks is determined not needed, as the setbacks are shown on the plan and the buildings are existing. I don't know if that has something to do with it.
I'm not adding any buildings.
Yeah, I think it did because
And the credit union is leaving. I don't know if that matters, but they're
Yeah, that's right.
they're moving. They're moving to a space on Main Street, Biddeford, very
That's
soon.
Changing again, it's gonna be empty then.
It's going to be empty again.
didn't they just move? Yeah, it's not.
There you go, by that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So that would be-
So,
that would have to be revised though,
mhm.
because we've got
The
parking
butters.
spaces and we've got platforms.
Mhm.
So there are additional structures that need to go on there.
Right, so you put concrete pads for the.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
Well, those would move wherever the trucks are. I mean, the trucks can sit on a multitude of surfaces.
Right. I almost call them roach coaches.
Because the two that I'd like to see rotate just for variety, for everyone's taste buds, aren't going to sit and be permanent. So
Sounds like a good.
But But I think you need to designate on your map
Where
where
those-
they're going to be.
Right.
If they are there, they're going to be in specific places.
Well, they're going to be behind the building then if I can't put one in front of it.
Right. So, that.
So is it supposed to be 1 inch is 40 feet scale? Is that what it's
Yes.
supposed to be?
Yes.
And.
And the abutters, does that mean just surrounding neighbors?
And those across the street.
And do I,
All
Within,
existing and-
but I mean, do I reach out to them? Do you guys send out a letter so that they are aware that there's a business wanting to do this? Because if
Three sets of mailing labels.
3 sets
What
of,
is it, 5160, I just like the 83 number.
Yeah.
3 sets of mailing labels of abutters within what? 3
500
sets?
feet.
so I bring the mailing labels and you guys send them out?
Yes.
Okay, can we add menus to that too?
Yeah. Why not?
Good point.
If you're paying for the postage,
They
Just more here.
It's gotta go certified
There
mail.
were 2 waivers requested by them. Just some more information.
Bill, the more information, the better.
I mean, for the,
Great, okay.
Actually, I
Great
mean,
topography.
the coordinates there,
Because it was existing or changing to any of the infrastructure.
there are like 20 requirements anyway for an application.
Mhm.
If some of these don't apply to you, whatever, you can ask for a waiver. So some of these you may want to do that, but like we need to know if you're gonna have incineration devices, what.
No.
Your signs, where your signs are gonna be.
Signs are going to be on the building.
Yeah.
And there is one,
And you usually put.
on the corner of the property are 2 really nice big wood beams that would be great to support a sign.
So that should be on your site plan.
But I don't know, but I don't even know yet signage, what I want to put up there for
Read
signage.
the zoning on that.
It doesn't matter what it is, but I think we need to know where the sign is going to be.
Mhm.
I think the code enforcement officer will
Yeah.
regulates what the size is and whatever, but,
have you seen this? I mean, we're not trying to spring anything on you.
No, that's fine.
We're talking about page 31, is that what?
yes, page 31.
To
Just all that.
my recollection.
Page
So-
31.
The zoning
applicant
is on our
has to sit down.
website. Grab a PDF copy of it. And if you look at your signs, it'll tell you what you.
Oh,
can
I
do.
have all the signage paperwork and
Oh,
nothing's
okay.
going to have,
All
lights facing the street, anything like that.
Good.
Right now, there are signs on the buildings and that's it.
Could we do this? To my recollection, in times past, the CEO would sit down with the applicant and walk through the 20 requirements in terms of the application. If anything was to be requested for a waiver, that would be mentioned at that time. What I'm suggesting is to sit down at some time with Rebecca and walk through these 20 items and then submit what is necessary. For example, a more elaborate site plan that shows the paths that you have in mind for the food trucks.
Well, I may not do pads since I need to move the trucks.
Were you thinking about doing any exterior lighting?
There's already exterior lighting on the buildings and I don't plan on this running into the evening. It's going to be a lunch spot. It's light till 8 o'clock in the summer, so.
But I think even if the light is on the building, I think that's supposed to be on the site plan too. You need to have lighting. because
Yeah,
it's public.
I mean, I just bought the buildings with lighting already.
Right,
on the
so
buildings.
We just need to see on the map where it is, the lighting. If it's on the building, that's fine, but you would indicate where the lighting would be.
So would that be an agreeable approach, getting together with Rebecca and walking through these 20 steps? And
I think that's a great way to make sure she gets everything she needs, nothing she doesn't need, and doesn't feel like she's always being, well, we need this, they're throwing this at me. If we're prepared application, that's, I don't need, I'm not asking for, plantings, because I'm not gonna be doing any landscaping to the property. So you can ask for a waiver on that.
Okay.
Okay.
That doesn't
Supposed to have a
count
couple
for
of
my
these.
flower pots or what I put out for beauty.
As long as they're not,
No. Who is Rebecca?
Rebecca Thompson.
right
our
there.
Rebecca.
enforcement officer.
So then this can happen. Does that mean I have to wait yet another 3 weeks to do this again?
Weeks.
Or 2 weeks?
Three in this case.
But I could speak with Rebecca sooner and then,
Yes, make arrangements to meet with her.
but this is before it goes to the next phase out to the people.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
It takes forever, I'm sorry, but it's.
Yeah, so-
I mean, this was already bringing me to mid-July.
And the other thing is.
Summer's
it
going to be
sounds
over.
like a pain, But you have to notify the abutters, the town notifies the abutters by certified mail in advance of the public hearing. And we have been, like, we had a case that went to court, and it says in the ordinance 10 days, we moved it to 20 days to give adequate time for the certified mail and the Pony Express to go from the post office to the person's house. So it does take longer than you would think it should have to take. But the requirement that the abutters be notified as certified mail has been an issue in the past, which is not.
So can that be done now, even though I have this 20-point checklist to go over with Rebecca? To speed things up here, because summer's going to be
Well,
more than half over.
Could we set the public hearing for our next meeting, which would be on the 26th?
No, we can't have a public hearing in 3 weeks. I have no abutter letters.
No.
I have no
Well, that's
abutter
what my
labels.
apologies.
Right.
Well, I can get the
We have no
labels.
Documentation to give
Yeah,
the,
that's right.
the people that come to the public hearing
That's right.
have the right to see your site plan.
The earliest would
We
be
don't have
July
that.
10.
Yeah,
They-
3 weeks is only 15 days. There's not enough time.
My apologies. I'm sorry. I think the next step is sitting down back and going through this. And next time we get together, we'll verify that the application is complete. So the public hearing date at that time.
Are you gonna do a sidewalk?
Yeah, we would do a site
Sure,
plan.
we do the
Instead
same.
of sidewalk?
I know, it sounds horrible.
Just-
It's a couple month process.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It takes time. I know, it's.
But I would have been more prepared had I known that there were some of these things that I'm ready to go to the next phase with reaching out to the people and getting their feedback on whether they want it or not. If somebody wanted to dispute it, I thought that was the next step.
Well, if you had the labels and stuff, you could be ready, that could be ready for July 10th meeting. If the checklist is
I mean, is that
gone
something
through
I
and
can do?
set,
No?
Has to
You,
be
you
through
would
the
do up the labels and deliver them to me. The public hearing notice would be written up by our office. It also has to be published in the paper 2 weeks before.
so you're talking 5 weeks to July 10th.
The earliest we could do a public hearing is July 10th.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it in 3 weeks.
But you'd have to get the information in as quick as you could, as quick as possible.
So as far as these labels, what do you mean I do up the labels? I don't understand. I don't know everyone's names and where they live and how far out I need to reach out.
See, that's what you need, you can meet with the code enforcement officer and to go through look at your map, where your lot is and find out who the abutters are.
with the assessor's office.
So we're not talking hundreds of people.
No.
No.
Well, that's pretty easy then,
Yeah.
Do you
if
have
we're
a list
talking
of
a
the last
handful.
one or number from the last?
I mean, I have two businesses surrounding
Probably
me.
gonna have changed.
Well, for the Lyman side of things, the way I read this, 1, 2, 3, 4.
There were,
Not abutting my property.
Well, within 500 feet.
I mean, I'm all woods behind me and I have a credit union to my left.
That's right, where the credit unit's mentioned here. John and Diana Kimball. Benjamin Darrow. And of course, we do require abutters who are across the street. That would be Daniel and Cheryl Du Bois.
I have a group of 12 names and a group of 16.
From the previous one?
Do they include the Arundel addresses?
Well, some are Arundel, this one,
Mhm.
this group is Arundel, I assume, but one of them is Epsom, New Hampshire. I mean, you have to go where, it goes where the property owner gets their mail. They don't necessarily have to live at the property.
Right, they just own it.
Well, I think the assessor would have the information of who are the immediate butters, the line inside of things.
So the building was inspected and okayed for the metery. And if this gentleman, he does actually, he's already got the permit to pop up in Arundel. So maybe the smoker needs to go behind the building in Arundel. Or can he get a pop-up license to pop up there while this gets figured out? So I don't lose his business from wanting to anchor down there.
That would be up to Arundel, what they allow for a temporary service.
Well, he's already been permitted through Arundel, so, but I'm asking for where he'd like to set up
Right.
behind the small commercial building, 1303.
I think I would get together with the code enforcement officer tomorrow and hammer it out. So you know what has to be done. And then as quick as possible. So
Yeah,
that-
I can't tomorrow.
Yeah, just call the office and make an appointment. That'll be fine. I'll block out some time for you. Just let me know.
Friday I could come in.
Yeah, call the office and we'll block out some time.
Okay.
We want you to be successful, but there's steps that have to be taken.
Oh, I understand. I thought I
And
had
sometimes it's
done the
frustrating.
steps.
And as a target date for the public hearing, the 10th of July.
You can do July 10th, we have enough time, because that's 25 days-ish.
So you want to get in this week and get it ironed out so we can get all the paperwork in place for the 10th of July.
And can I have the list of names to get labels done?
I don't have the list.
You have to supply them.
Yeah, well, check with the assessors.
Yeah,
Office here.
assessor will be in next office, so when you come in and talk to the CEO, they can verify what you need to do for names and addresses.
You'll also need the abutting neighbors from Arundel, which are gonna be across the street.
Do we?
Yes, because they are
I think so.
abutters.
Yeah. I don't think it matters what town.
You'll need to know the current owner of the credit union, not the one that's.
Those labels, those names you get from Arundel, you wouldn't have them.
Right. You just gotta go to the Arundel assessing. They have a beautiful brand new building.
They probably have better way of tracking butters than we do.
Yeah, I think they have a GIS system.
Yeah, we don't even want to go with talking about that.
I wonder why I have to deal with Arundel.
Why would you have to deal with Arundel?
Yes, because the trucks are going to be on the posterior side of Lyman if I have any additional.
But they are in a butter to you. It doesn't
Within
matter if they
500
are
feet.
the next neighbor in the town, the next town away, the next county, or the next state. You have, if they are in a butter within, I think it's 500 feet,
500.
you must notify them.
That's quite a distance.
She's got most of the names. If you want to verify them, I would check with Arundel and verify those.
That's a good point.
Make sure they're still valid, and then put your list together and just provide those labels, and then Julie will do her magic. Right? Right? Yeah.
I'm tired of magic.
It just takes time.
I can give you when you come Friday, I can give you a copy of this. And you can confirm the names with Arundel for those ones.
That's a good one. Hopefully-
See what happens if you don't dot your i's and cross your t's? Somebody will come along and say, you didn't notify me, stop.
Right.
And everything's dead.
I get it. I'm at the
You
hospital
know?
all day tomorrow. And their town hall is closed on Friday.
There you go.
We're not.
No, they are.
I know a lot of them are closed on Fridays.
They do have an online database.
You might
For-
go look it
and just
up.
what, I need to know street names then, because I only need the people that are immediately right around.
Yeah, the easy way to do it is 2 steps. You go to the Arundel Town Hall, go to the assessing department, look at tax maps, find out where it is, then you go on, they use Vision. So you, I know, I could do this in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Seriously, I mean, I can't get over there till Wednesday.
No, you could do the Arundel basically online, is what I'm saying,
You can look at the assessor tax information online.
with tax maps. And it'll give you, the owner of record and the address of record.
And that's all you really need.
That's all you need, yeah. But I don't know where everybody lives. Is it alphabetical order? I still have to drive around and say, okay.
Well, if you look at
this is
the
a
tax
500
map,
square-
it's
this
gonna
is
show you
500
the
feet from-
layout. It's gonna show you what properties are where, and you just need the names off those properties that are right in that area.
I'll see how I do.
I was gonna say, should they, the map and lot should not have changed. So that would still be lot 20, map 20, lot 3A. Lot 20, lot 3, lot 20, map 20, lot C, yeah.
Julie
There are
said you had a
some-
list already from the previous owner. You
I
could-
have the
you could
list
go
of
with
the
that.
certified letters that went out.
Yeah.
I don't have map and lot numbers. I have a
Okay,
list
just
of
the
names.
name.
We only have a few here. Go ahead.
I was saying, a copy of that should be very beneficial. It may not give the property may have sold in the last 4 years, 3, 4 years, but the map and lot typically don't change unless there's a subdivision or a split. So map 20 lot 3-A is still gonna be the same regardless of who the owner is, and you can look up on the vision site instead of by address, you look up map and lot.
So get a copy of this to you.
I may have that already.
This one.
Something somewhere, I think. Does that come with the, the plans for the septic?
No, the septic one,
That's
would not
separate.
typically do that.
That was the one with the other
That was
party that owned it
part
before.
of the
Homestead.
metering application.
Okay.
So,
There might be a for sale sign up first.
It's a little bit more, unfortunately, it's a little bit more complicated, especially with the public hearing and the notification for the public hearing. That slows things up.
When
I'm ready
you
for
come
it.
in to see Rebecca, yeah, I'll have a copy of this ready for you and with the addresses of the Arundel folks that were in the file previously. I have that to go on.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
They just gotta be made sure that they are correct and updated, that the property didn't sell, and the new owner has got an out-of-state address.
And I get certified labels how?
All I need is the labels. Just, you get a sheet of labels. Or so.
Was it Avery, that's who you should do
Avery.
I mean, are they handwritten or are they printed?
Printed.
And how do I do that?
Word document?
Just a Word document.
On the
You
computer.
can go to
Computer
avery.com. It's set up.
So do you print the labels or does she?
The applicant is required to print the labels.
Do you have a
It's
typewriter?
part of the application.
I have a laptop. I don't have a printer. I mean,
I would say print them off, put them on a thumb drive, go to Staples. Simple JPEG file or Excel file.
but they need to fit on the label.
Right, it's standard 1.25 by 3.
Those are 5160s, aren't they,
Yeah, I
Avery?
think that.
5160 is the number of the label. Their standard address label.
It's just a
Copy them up,
standard.
send them over to Staples and you put them in. On labels for you. Properly.
Labels. They're just like these little labels. Because they have to go on, the certified letter. 2 copies of the label goes on the certified letter and 1 copy goes on this. So I don't have to handwrite every single name and address. And if there's, like I said, there was 16 and 12, that's a lot of handwriting. It takes a lot longer for that to go up.
Absolutely. So when I speak with you on Friday, I'll know how many people that I need these labels for. And you're saying you need 3 for each household.
3 for each address.
I mean, that would have been awful to learn 2 weeks from now.
We're trying to help you.
why are the labels covered by the administration fee she pays for the application? Just curious.
It's in the,
The ordinance.
Said the,
it's in the application, it says this says 2 sets of mailing labels, but you really need 3. They got provided.
It's a good question, Rebecca.
That puts the onus on the applicant to be correct instead of, oh, I didn't get this, like, this person wasn't notified and the town is blamed.
Well, I mean, really, you gotta go to the tax records to get the names, really, that's, and then there's no guarantee that, honestly, that they're up to date, because I know we had a challenge in the past.
Exactly.
Somebody, and I actually was, we had a lapse of, administrative assistance, like we didn't have any at all. I filled those things out myself, and it's a pain in the neck. I'm doing it by hand. You can fill those darn labels out. You just print them out. It takes a long time. I sat in here with a couple of stacks of stuff and just did it, just to get it, because the applications were already, anyway. It was just, we just had no help at all, period, nothing. So, but it is a pain. It can be done by hand, but it does take a little bit longer. That's the point. And they are standard labels. Maybe these other ideas, these people are a lot smarter than I am, so with respect to that administrative stuff, save you some time.
Thank you.
and Julie, it does say 3 in the ordinance, 3 sets of labels.
So we're trying to help you out, and we want you to succeed.
Yeah, that
Because it's,
should be 3. In the ordinance, it says 3.
Any other questions for us?
No.
She's like,
You don't want to hear
"That's
anymore?
enough."
Yeah. You can snap our
Thank you.
fingers and make it
Have a
happen.
good evening.
Me too. Have a good night.
Can I go?
Let's see.
Bye.
Okay, set agenda for the next meeting. And for the next meeting, everyone's got a copy of this, Julie?
no,
Okay.
just you, me, and.
All right.
Me, you,
Proposed for the next meeting on the 26th at 5:30. Ray Bernier.
You were gonna
Yes.
do a sidewalk for her. You were gonna set a sidewalk.
We're supposed to do that until we have a complete application.
I know.
Because we
But
can
we're
even have a
rushing to
sidewalk,
get the
we
public
take the site
hearing going.
plan and we,
Oh,
verify that.
Sidewalk squeezed in. I'm just,
I
sorry,
know.
my thought came out.
What's the earliest possible date on which we can hold them?
Well, if your next meeting's the 26th and she has everything together and we're all ready to go, you would have to do the sidewalk like that weekend.
Right after the meeting.
But then you wouldn't be able to review anything until public hearing, because that's the next meeting.
Okay. So,
Just throwing it.
okay, just tentatively, maybe reserve, carve out some time on the morning of the 29th, I think would be Saturday.
Yes.
9, 10.
I just want to let you know that one of the rare things that happened, I'll be out of town on the 29th of June.
You mean you're gonna have part of a life?
Yes.
And then he's all done on the 30th.
I'm gonna be out of town for a week, so I'm not gonna be able to do any of that.
Yeah.
Some of-
Everybody else, will you have a quorum?
The 29th?
You talking about June 29th?
Yes.
Yes, I think I'm available.
Kevin?
Don't.
The June, so far, June 29th is looking all right.
Okay, and again, time of day?
10 o'clock sounds good.
10 sounds
Let's
good.
get that.
And this is sidewalk for who, what, where, when?
Well, we're,
You give names, I'm not, I do maps and lots.
What time you want to do?
10?
10 a.m.?
Down at, what's going to be the meeting,
Sidewalk for,
1301.
this
Oh,
July.
Carrie Ann Johnson. $629.10. And,
I'll try to remember to mention it
that's
to
what I
her.
should do when she comes in.
Probably be a good
I'm
idea.
sorry.
You think?
Uh,
I know, it's, yeah.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Ray Bernier, gentleman with the wood pellets and the vacuum
Yep.
repair place, is looking into possibly placing storage sheds to rent on that property, so that will be on our agenda next time around. But one thing to, a little bit of a heads up on that one, what category or categories might that fall under?
Renting sheds?
It's commercial zone, so.
Commercial zone.
Yeah, so that should be a,
Let's see, there's the possible reopening of Lyman Variety down on the corner of Middle and Old North Berwick.
oh, nice.
Mr. Dan Crook, I think in our folders, we've got that information. And also in our folders, we have information from a Mackenzie Goodrow, who is looking into opening a home daycare. Ms. Johnson will be back on the agenda. Anything carried over from tonight's meeting for next week?
What about the subdivision? Are they coming down?
I wouldn't think so. I think that they've got the guidance I think they need. Then, though, when they do come back, will be with a modified plan, I think.
Okay.
Anything else that anyone else can think of to stick on there? I walked through all the old business routine with you, Julie before, and all of those items in the past have been addressed, pending.
I was gonna say, can we get a list of all those that have basically been sitting in the wind and that's waiting for them to come back? Because I went through a number with Joe earlier and I was, what's going on with this one? What's going on with this one? I'm like, is it dead or alive?
Who's dead or alive?
Well,
Pending applications.
John Bon Jovi. All right. But I'm from.
For the most part, they've been addressed, or again, still pending.
Yeah, I just like to, I keep going through the file and go, oh, where's this one at?
Jimmy thing has been addressed.
Do I walk through this?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Go ahead.
LaPointe on Wadley, the deck. Okay, Jimmy King addressed. Haven't heard anything about the communication from MX 207 and Gordon Sand and Gravel. We assume that there was communication between those two. Haven't heard anything more about the Army Corps of Engineers getting back to the Maxons on Cottage. The Bridgmans are working with the code enforcement officer on the deck situation. Barker's Pond. Nothing new on Mr. Martino and his proposal for huts on Brock. Julie, you'll be contacting Mr. Platts with respect to the home occupation application that he has submitted. The situation on Old Pump Road is now in the hands of Maine Forestry Service. The only thing I would throw in there as an update, I did get a few texts from folks on Old North Berwick saying that there was operation of one of the pits beyond the allowable hours of operation. Couldn't determine exactly which pit it was. I contacted them and said that all future concerns along those lines should be communicated to the code enforcement officer and on that. I did provide both pits with, at their approval, email addresses for folks who would like to get a heads up in advance whenever they may be planning, well in advance of the blast in that area. So I think about 7-8 names on that list. So that updates the appendix stuff that I recall.
Hopefully I remember.
Let's see. With those items, I'll entertain a motion to set the agenda for the next meeting.
Don't forget to approve minutes.
I will get there. Yep.
Move that we set the agenda for June 26th.
Second,
Second?
further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now on to anything, updates from you, Rebecca.
There's no updates from my office at this time. Are we gonna talk about Julie's role tonight, or are you guys still discussing that?
I think discussion that we had with the town manager and Julie was made privy to that, and I discussed the situation with Cecile as well.
Okay.
For now, Julie will provide me her notes on the meetings. I'll draft a preliminary set of minutes run by Cecile for polishing, then distribute that to everybody.
Perfect.
Because the explanation is that the code enforcement office is just so swamped with material, with work, that Julie's priorities are to address that
Thank you.
for now. Let me see. Minutes, everyone had the opportunity to take a look at the minutes for May 15th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any,
I was coughing, I had. If Cecile and you are pulling extra duty doing the minutes, is there compensation in the budget for that?
I don't care, but I'm putting in the time. I'm gonna let Julie know how much time to spend it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's a precedent for that, because I did bill time for writing notices of decision in the past in a few cases.
all right,
If you're working, you need to get paid.
understood. We got back to the minutes on the May 15th. Any concerns?
No nits, no picks.
The misspelling of Becca's last name was fixed.
That being the case, a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's approved. Let's see, that is coming up. The quarterly report. Let me get
Yeah.
Everyone have a copy of that guy?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's got those pretty pictures on the front.
Pretty pictures.
Nice.
Yeah, that looks
Nice
good.
report.
Yeah.
Officially.
Now, you want to review this? Anything you want to alter before we formally submit it?
I didn't find anything that required alterations.
Yeah, looks good to me. We're busy.
I think it covers everything, I think. I make a motion that the planning board accept the third quarter fiscal year 23-24 quarterly report as submitted, or as prepared, I should say. Wonderful administrative assistant.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the quarterly report? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And, yeah, yes, sir.
Sometime I've got two items I'd like to mention.
Please. All right.
First one question. I noticed there was no planning board, or I can see why there might not have been a CEO report in the town report. Did we get a request for that or not? You don't know anything about it? Okay, because I just noticed in the town report there wasn't anything from the planning board. I missed it, I looked through it, I didn't see it. So I didn't see anything from the code enforcement. I think we were maybe between code officers. I don't know. But anyhow, just as a point, so I asked about that. The other thing I want to mention is, it's gonna sound a little weird here, but not that that's unusual, but I'm not gonna respond to any more emails from the planning board because I've had a ongoing dialogue with the human resources person, Jeanette, who's been very, very helpful. And I can't sign this acceptable use agreement. That's one of the 4 documents. There's a personnel policy, I signed for that, the code of ethics, although there was an error in the code of ethics, which I've again reported out. It's just about that table of consanguinity, but whether they fix that or not, that actually makes the planning board bylaws in conflict with the town of Lyman code of ethics, because they don't recognize you should only go to the 6th degree as opposed to and people say, what the hell difference is it? Well, I submitted a marked up copy of that table showing the differences. All I got to do is draw it out, and you can see how many additional people. It's like anybody you meet I mean, I'm serious, if you look at it. So I just think they should change that, but that's on them, that's not, but I did say I was comfortable with that, accepted that exception. And it's social media policy, I'm okay with that, but the acceptable use agreement, I'm not comfortable with. And we don't, because I have to use my personal email account. I know there's two suggestions. One is copy Julie on every email. That's one possibility. Another one is to go to a Gmail account or a separate account for the planning board activities that you perform. I'm coming to the end of my term. I don't feel like doing that. So I'm not trying to get you guys involved. I'm just saying that I spent enough time on this. When I read that thing, I just can't sign it because I think it applies, the way I read it, it applies to my personal email. I mean, I got this stupid phone here I use to tell time with, but I also have a laptop and a personal computer at home. I read that it applies to all of that.
Yes. it
And
is.
I don't like
Agree.
that, and I don't want to sign that.
I understand.
Of the wording. I'm not trying to get you guys involved, I'm just telling my decision. So my decision has been, I'm just not gonna answer any emails. If I have any questions or comments, I might possibly make a phone call. I'm not gonna record that, but, I mean, to Julie, that is, if I have comment on minutes or something. But, I'm not going to, do any more emails the next couple of weeks because that's my time.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
That's my 2 cents, and I told the human resources officer, if that's the correct term, that I was going to mention this at the planning board, so I'm not trying to sandbag anybody here.
No, understand.
I just,
No, you make a valid point.
well, I mean, I
A
think,
valid point.
I just think we ought to have
I'm
a
against
email
it too.
account, and
Right.
if that's not the case, you know, you read the requirements, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. By the way, you can't use any of the 10 passwords if you read that, and you've got all this stuff. And I'm not sure, I don't think I can comply with it on my personal devices. Now, maybe it's not applicable, I don't know, but the way I read it, it is. So that's the point. That's my
Until the
2 cents.
written word of the ordinances and the rules have changed, I agree with you.
Yeah, I do too.
My 2 cents, I'm not trying to get you involved in.
I agree
Thank
I agree
you,
with you.
thank you.
We should be provided an email access to so we can conduct planning board business.
I understand there's technical glitches that interfere with that at present, but
Is
I'll bring it back up.
Yeah.
Discussion.
According to the written word, you can't use Gmail.
Right, yes.
That was very specific.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You saw me, didn't you?
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Got the minutes down there.
Oh.
The minutes.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to ask you, I think,